All right, we're live. This week, I'm so excited to be joined by Sean Gaillard, the principal of Lexington Middle School, presenter, blogger, and the author of The Pepper Effect. Sean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Josh, appreciate being here, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad we stayed on each other to make it happen. So I'm very grateful to be here.
And Sean, as you know, the show is centered on leadership development. I would love to hear your personal leadership journey and how you became an administrator.
Okay, well, I think it all started when my brother and I used to play Star Trek as kids, and I wanted to be Captain Kirk, and my brother is older, and I don't even think I got to be Mr. Spock. I was like the red shirt that was always getting killed when they beamed on the planet. Um, so that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. But I'm very fortunate in that my father is a natural leader, and I learned, and I was very blessed to be pushed and encouraged to serve and to lead. That was always kind of that was breakfast table, dinner table stuff. That if you wanted to be great and if you wanted to make a positive impact on the world, that you served others. And I believe that leadership and service, it's the same marrow, it's the same thing. So that's kind of, I guess, between Star Trek and the lessons from Dad. That's what kind of got me started on that leadership journey.
Sure. And when you got into education, did you always aspire to be an administrator, or was there a person who influenced that?
Oh no! Oh no! 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 That was um, that was kind of nowhere. That was nowhere near on the list. I went into education to serve and to follow my passion with the written word and literature. So by trade, I'm a high school English teacher, and and leadership was one of those things that really started off as a practicality, or administration started off as a practicality, because being a newlywed and family on the way. I had to help put bread on the table. My wife is also a teacher, and it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. A two teacher salary home is a very difficult home to kind of make ends meet. So I pursued administration, thinking, not thinking about principalship, not thinking about assistant principalship. I thought, okay, English department chair or something like that. That was kind of the end goal, and I was very lucky to have done that. And then I was very lucky that I was surrounded with great leaders and principal leaders who saw something in me and encouraged me to go further with that. So, but no, I didn't set out to become a principal. That wasn't the end result. That was, again, I the classroom is where I'm at home, and through the process of becoming. First an assistant principal, after the department chairship, and then a principal. I just felt that I just heard a call each time, when the opportunity came up. I just felt, well, this might be a place where I'd like to be to um, to serve and support and to be a part of the framework of that schoolhouse. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. I could always. Uh, I'm happy with where I was at each time. Um, so that's kind of how that's been. And then there are principals and leaders who go, I've got a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. Man, I don't even have a 10-minute plan. So
We've
it
done
just,
that one.
yeah, I just kind of cast my fate to the wind.
And so, looking back, what do you wish you had known before taking your first administrative role?
Well, it two things, and I kind of learned. There's two lessons that kind of come to mind when this question arises. Um, the first time when I was an English department chair, I learned. In fact, I went to my dad on this one. I had run some meeting, and someone had done something. And again, looking back now, it was petty, it was goofy, but I felt slighted, and I felt how dare they didn't listen to the great almighty English department chair or whatever. So I was in my feelings, and I went to go visit my dad and to kind of seek wisdom and consolation. And I did not get the consolation. I got hard wisdom, and I remember my dad saying, "You wanted to be English department chair, did you not?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." Well, did you not realize that you are no longer one of the boys anymore? You're now on the other side, and there's a responsibility. So if somebody is hurting your feelings, you got to get over that, and you've got to get thicker skin. So that lesson, was something that has stayed with me. And then the second thing, I think, when I became assistant principal, I learned very quickly, and I also learned this too when I be first in my first principalship. It does not matter what you've read. It doesn't matter what you've written about. It doesn't matter if you can cite Marzano or John Hattie. None of those things matter. It doesn't matter how many degrees, what conferences you've been at, if you've taken 18,000 selfies with Todd Whitaker, which actually that'd be kind of cool. But none of those things matter. It really comes down to understanding and valuing people, and also being a visible, present leader. Um, and I wish I learned those lessons the hard way, and it took me, and it was a very humbling experience. It was a very transcendent experience, but I tell this to aspiring leaders. Doesn't matter how many degrees, what books, all that goes out the window, because the bottom line is the people whom you are serving just want to know that you care about them, and that you have their back. That's it.
And I know the role from assistant principal to principal is very, very different. So, which leadership skill was the most difficult to develop as a principal?
Ooh, good question, man. I would say balance. First principalship, that was going on 11, 12 years ago. And I wanted to attack the world and be super principal and running around and doing those things. And I realized that took a while to adjust to. I realized that it's not just me. It's a team. It's surrounding yourself with people who are smarter and better than you, and leveraging their gifts and their talents. So yeah, that when I went from AP to principal, I was running around doing, I'm wearing the three-piece suit or whatever, and I don't do that anymore. Uh, I learned to value comfortable shoes. Thank God for Skechers. Uh, so yeah, that was balance. Yeah, definitely balancing your stamina, and balancing your home life, and balancing school life, and keeping all of those things in check. That's very, very important.
And we talked about this before the podcast began, but my experience has only been middle school, and you are a middle school principal. Why do you love that middle school level so much?
Well, I've that's the most, that's the thing that, and you probably get this too. When you tell people what you do, and you say, "I work in a middle school," and then you get this, probably, this kind of look akin to the famous Edvard Munch scream poem. You may get blessed. They may even buy an extra drink at the bar. Um, and to me, those middle school years, one, I think, to me, are the most fun, and two, but that's also where I feel there's the most need. Now again, there's elementary and high school folks that are looking at this going, yeah, right. And I don't want to dispel or take away from that, but there is something to be said about the middle of the middle. and where I feel we can provide that support and fulfill that need for kids and for teachers who are choosing to be on that front line, because it takes a very special teacher. Um, so to me, it's there's a lot. It's a crossroads, and for some reason, I'm comfortable at that crossroads and being in that crossroads with kids and teachers in the schoolhouse. I was a high school principal too, and I had a lot of fun with that. But just something about those middle school years that I've always felt compelled to be a part of, even though. I'm dating myself a little bit. We didn't call it middle school when I was coming along. It was junior high, and there were levels of misery for me personally, and then there were levels of great joy, and that's middle school. And once you figure that out, and you know that, man, and you can navigate through those waters. There's some real transcendent moments as a leader, as a servant, as an educator.
Mhm. And as an administrator, what is one area you want to change in education?
Oh man, how long is this podcast? How long is this podcast? I mean, we can I could go on for that, man. That's volume two. Um, all right, I'll tell you this. I'm gonna make this a bit of a challenge for myself because the safe typical answer is testing and accountability. So okay, yeah, we all want to change that. We don't want the man, so to speak, breathing down our neck with test scores, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish. But I would say I would like to change the whole mindset about school. So I really feel that our calendar and our just as a society, I mean, we're rooted in in an outdated set of practices, and we're dealing with now. It's not even about 21st century skills anymore. We're talking about shift upon shift upon shift. And if the schoolhouse can authentically reflect that without begging for a grant, without begging, and pimping around for donors choose, but if the school can really reflect that pathway to where we want our kids to be with a limitless future, that would be the one thing that I would want to change, and have that kind of reek and permeate throughout the whole school beyond flexible seating. It's giving our teachers that background and that support to prepare kids for the gig economy and to be future ready, and to have parents and families and communities understand that. That would be one thing I would change. The second thing I would change is equity, meaning everybody has to have the same opportunity and the same experiences, or access to, if you will, um, the innovative things. Everyone needs to have access to master teaching. Everyone needs to go to a school where they feel safe. Everyone needs to go to a school where they feel like, man, I'm not in some generic rundown place. I'm in a great school, and you've got a lot of schoolhouses in our communities and our cultures where you see this disproportion. Why is that? Why does it have to be that way? And why does it and the children feel that and sense that and are hungry for a place where they can thrive and soar. And that kind of perfect schoolhouse should not be something that they see on TV or hear about in passing when they go on an away game or to an event, and they go, wait a minute, they've got cooler stuff than we do. Why is that? So that level of equity is something that I would also want to change.
Mhm. And what are some characteristics that you believe every leader should possess in a similar role?
So um, I feel, first of all, a high level of service. So, even though we have titles, even though we have degrees, and we may get a free cell phone from the district, we are still we should not feel above getting our hands dirty. If the toilet is flooding, and we got to get in there and clean it, and do whatever it takes. So I would say service and humility. I would also say, I'd love to see all leaders, or I think an important trait for all leaders is vision, and having a very clear vision, or a leadership core, as Principal Kafele talks about. You need to have a strong core, and that needs to echo in everything that you do. Um, and then also too, this notion of collaboration, and building upon the strengths of others in the building, and bringing everyone in, regardless of years of experience, or title, or grade level. Everyone in a schoolhouse is off the bench. Everyone is a starter. It's another bit of wisdom from Dad. Everybody plays. Everybody's Michael Jordan today. Nope, there are no scrubs. So I believe that school leaders need to have that mindset. Um, Leadership is not just a sole thing, or an only thing. It's a collaborative thing. You know.
And what is one initiative you've implemented on your campus that you are extremely proud of?
Oh wow. I'm a small part of a lot of things, so I'm real lucky that I've got a lot of great folks that I serve and support in my various principalships. This is my third principalship, but I would say what one kind of a couple of things kind of come to mind. Um, I love the fact that we're implementing a kind of this enrichment remediation time called Connections, and not just doing the test prep questions. I'm really proud of the fact that a lot of our teachers have taken some ownership for this, and done some create and tried to think outside the box to meet the needs of our kids, um, namely with Genius Hour. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the positive principal phone calls home, and I know many principals have done that, and we do that for our kids, and we do it for our staff members. I'm also real proud of hashtag Celebrate Monday, which is kind of my love letter to the world, and a way for us to change the conversation on what Monday is, and rather than being an excuse to be negative. That hashtag, which has taken on a life of its own, it has been an excuse for schools and teachers to begin the week in a positive, upbeat way, to inspire and compel kids and schools and colleagues to great things.
And for those teachers starting their leadership journey, what advice do you have for them?
Um, Stick to the core. First of all, discover and learn your core. Write it down. What is it that gets you up in the morning? What is it that drives you to be a leader? What is it that drives you to take that stand in service and support of kids? So I would say, for those just starting out, really reflect upon and define your core as a leader. What's your vision? What's your why? Why? And then also, why would you want folks to follow you? And be prepared to explain that, and to live that out, most importantly, in a sincere way.
And if anyone's followed you on social media, they know you have a love for the Beatles. For those who haven't had the opportunity to read The Pepper Effect, can you describe how this book may help our aspiring leaders?
So the book is a combination of my two passions. So I'm very passionate about the Beatles. I'm very passionate about music. I believe, Josh, that music is the universal language, in addition to laughter. It doesn't matter what language, what socioeconomic status you talk about music. That's going to bring I hope it brings folks together. so the Pepper Effect is me kind of taking the collaborative and creative legacy of the Beatles when they created Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and did this innovative, daring, bold work. And then I take those lessons and crosswalk them with my own lessons as a or the things that I learned as a leader. Um, and working with kids and teachers and schools and kind of marrying that together. So kind of like what the classic Don Phillips book, Lincoln on Leadership. That's kind of what this is. It's like the Beatles on leadership. So you don't necessarily have to be a Beatles fan, or if you're not a music fan, to I think to appreciate the book. But the book is I think for any leader you need to have a passion, and you need to be unabashed with that, and hopefully other people will be able to share their passions, whatever that may be. That's one thing I think that a leader has to do is to share their passion, reflect their passion, and get others to do the same. That's where the magic happens, I believe.
In addition to your principal position, you speak at conferences, you blog, and you're very active on social media. How did you find your voice beyond the campus?
Well, one of the things with social media, and you get this too as a school leader, is it we even though we're running nonstop, I mean, it's a lonely gig. And so I kind of reached out with social media just as a way to kind of find out what other people were doing, to learn. um I really believe that Twitter and social media and those things, it's PD in your pocket. So I kind of approach it as I approach this conversation, as I would approach anything. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to connect. It's an opportunity to grow. So I really believe, and I also believe that we as leaders and as educators, we have to be responsible with that digital footprint. And so it's really important for me. And I don't know if folks who follow me on Twitter, I really try to be authentic and sincere. And if somebody's tagging me in a post, I'll retweet it. If somebody's asking for help or direct messages me for a question, I try to respond. I believe in the golden rule. And there's a lot of irresponsibility. There's a lot of noise out there in social media. It shouldn't just be about standing on tables and taking some, staged selfie with a quote unquote, edu rock star. That's not what our profession is about. So I approach it as a conversation, as an opportunity to engage. And even though we're not neighbors, I consider you a neighbor. If there's something you needed from me, a cup of sugar or an idea, if you had a question, I'm going to give it to you. And if I needed a hand, hey man, can I borrow the hedge clippers? That's what neighbors do, right? Hey Josh, you mind if I take the car out for a spin? Or can you help me paint the fence or whatever? That's kind of my approach to it. As I try to be a neighbor, or a good neighbor.
And you just created a podcast, the Principal Liner Notes podcast. I think you're on episode 6. So what is that all about?
So that's an extent. Thank you. It's well, one, kind of my outlet to do something fun and meaningful that isn't signing purchase orders or dealing with some of the minutia of school leadership. But again, it's kind of taking the Pepper Effect and not necessarily about the Beatles, but just kind of taking my passions of music and education and crosswalking those things. It is in its early stages. It is not a perfect podcast. I aspire to be Aspire like you, but it's as we were talking earlier, I hope it makes sense, and I hope it's positive. But again, it's just kind of just sharing those passions of music and education. My attempt to be NPR.
I love it. And in closing, what is the most enjoyable aspect of leadership?
Oh man, when I'll tell you this, when you see someone um, take an idea, and maybe I had a small part of that, and they just take it and they run with it, and it becomes their own. That's what I love seeing other folks who you would not expect to be leaders become leaders. I love that. I love I get like a proud dad moment when that happens. To me, that's the most fun, when that happens, that synergy happens, and you see somebody grow into their own and become their own. I'm real blessed that folks that have served under, not served under, that's horrible, but served with me as assistant principals have gone on to bigger and better things, either as principals or central office folks. I love seeing that first year teacher become a teacher leader. So I'm really proud of those things, and that's always fun to see that happen.
And how can our listeners connect with you on social media?
So there's a few ways. Definitely follow me on Twitter at SM Gaillard. That's SMGAILLARD. They can follow the hashtags, hashtag Celebrate Monday, or hashtag the Pepper Effect. They can follow the Principal Liner Notes podcast, and that's available on iTunes and Spotify. The blog as well. It's also entitled Principal Liner Notes, and again, I'm available direct message, and I'm also on Instagram as well at SM Gaylord as well. So I'm in all the above.
Please continue to check out the Aspire podcasts on SoundCloud and iTunes and share your ratings and reviews. Don't forget to use the Aspire Lead hashtag as you continue the conversation on Twitter. Sean, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it, man. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm grateful for your work and your leadership and what you're doing with this podcast. You're doing some great things, pal.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.